1, 2, 1. Bom, 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 bom. Ooh, hello. Hello, yes, it's still bloody freezing here. But hey, we're going to go with it. I'm going to keep my hat on, probably. And we're just gonna see if we can warm ourselves through the power of our love of electronic circuits and control voltages and one another, with perhaps the help of some whiskey. I think is the plan for this evening. I've gone solid for the beer, some kind of cold drink. No, I'm going to start with a nice coffee and then get into the heavy stuff and see how quickly I debilitate. That's going to be the plan, I think, which will be hilarious, I'm sure, for you. So I hope you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if I'm coming through all nice and clear and stuff. And then we'll get talking about all the wonderful things we have to talk about, which I'm not sure what they are. But hey, just give us a poke. What? All good, says somebody. I'm going to assume that's referring to me as opposed to some other conversation. Or maybe you can't hear me asking you anything at all, which is the other possibility. But good evening, you're very welcome here. Okay. Sorry, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you're very welcome to come. Hi, this is Molten Music Technology, Molten Modular, Molten Meditation, Molten Audio, Molten all sorts of things, Molten Music. Anything that's molten is here except for the warmth of that idea. So it's great to have you here. The idea of this evening is that we chat about music and music making and stuff. We fill around with a couple of products, bits and pieces, have a chat, generally have a little bit of light, friendly abuse, that kind of thing. And feel free to ask me questions and I will answer it, hopefully with some level of authenticity. But as a start, I'll just say Happy New Year to you all. It's lovely to be here still doing this here thing. I hope you had a great break, a great Christmas and a New Year and all that sort of thing. I haven't done any work at all over the Christmas period, which in some ways is very releasing. And on the other side of that is that I have this enormous weight, of stuff I haven't looked at, which is eating into my psyche and making me feel nervous and anxious about the world. So that's a good way to start 2026, I think, is to start it full of anxious foreboding, which doesn't relate to anything that's happening in the world right now. It's purely an individual thing for me. Oh, Ken, thanks. So hello, Scotland. Two of my kids are going up to Scotland in a week or two to climb Ben Nevis in the winter, which is nice. Teenagers they are. I think they're a bit nuts. But so if you see two people really out of their depths, probably in shorts and flip-flops, trying to climb the UK's biggest mountain, then do give them a wave. Maybe a hot cup of cocoa would be great. So, Chisholm already said hello. No, I didn't say hello, but thank you very much for pointing things out. Michael Indy, good to see you. Know you, don't I? Steve, hi. Tanith. Jesus Freak, yeah, good to see you here. It's always good to have a fellow soul searcher in the chat. Joe, hi. Tracker Jack, great to see you. Keith in Watford. Was that right? NTO Steve, good to see you. Hi Dots. You've been doing some fine work lately. That's been great. Yeah. I've always, having a look at Pan's Pro Workout is always one of those things that I've always intended to do and just never got around to. And there you are, laying it all bare, which is fantastic. Good work. Good stuff. In fact, I'm gonna sit and watch your videos so that I can have a better idea of what the heck I'm supposed to be doing that thing. Because the PAMS is one of those frustratingly deep modules that you only use a tiny bit of it, and then every now and again you go, oh, it does this, and then you use that, and then you go back to using just the surface level stuff, just clocking. And I really must get into it a little bit deeper. So thank you for that. Skipping on down. Sorry if I don't say hello to everybody. You know, it's just not possible because there's thousands of you there. Thousands. How could I say hello to everyone? You got some money for Christmas? Oh, good for you. 5. Nice. But surely if you're up in Scotland, you should have... What are they? Are they Macbeth synthesizers? Why do I think they're Macbeth? Mac something. Well, obviously, because, you know... well, there's definitely a synth maker in Scotland, other than in Struo and people like that, of course. What are they called? Are they called Macbeth? Anyway, by the by. From Earlham Road. Nice. From Prague. Hi, good to see you. Yeah, there's no end to Pam's, I have to say. No end to it. Yes, there is. Yes, there is indeed. Okay, so I got to the bottom of that already. That's good. Get out of the way. Sorry. 1 second. Good. Right, so what should we talk about? Well, I've got a couple of things I can show you. I've just got the Bastel What's It. I've got a thing here. Hang on, let me just work out which one it is. Is it that one? That's the one. I got these two fellas turned up, the Citadels from Bastel Instruments. One is set up as the Alchemist, one set up as the FS Wizard. I'm now suddenly doubting myself whether the Alchemist has been announced. It has, I think. So I'm not breaking any embargoes. I don't think. But essentially it's all the same hardware. They just have different versions of these little fellas inside. Now, I did a review of one of these, and now, I can't remember anything about it other than it was a bit nuts. So the likelihood of me getting something awesome out of it is probably quite slim, but we could have a bit of a fiddle. That might be interesting, have a bit of a fiddle. I seemed over the Christmas period, I suddenly got a deluge of stuff coming, which has been quite amusing considering I haven't had time to do anything. And so just enormously behind. But I've got a big pile of bits, which is very exciting, and some exciting stuff too, none of which I can tell you about. Well, one of them I could, but that's the least interesting, funnily enough. Everything else is quite cool. But there's some sort of NAMM pertinent stuff. So I think I'm probably letting far too much away by saying there might be some announcements around NAMM time of a couple of little products from a couple of little brands. I'll give that, and I'll be able to tell you all about it. But I can't do that quite yet. I'm not brave enough to piss off brands. Not quite yet. But some of it will be expected. Some of it is completely out of left field, I have to say. And I've got other stuff on its way to me which hasn't turned up yet. I keep getting courier notifications and I forget where they come from. But usually they're just after money. When is NAMM? Don't know. I would say 25th of January is a stab in the dark. It's usually that sort of time. Usually. Not there's a whole lot to see, but we do have... Yeah, but we do have... Bookler and Friends happening at the same time, I think, again this year, and that's been quite interesting because it's a bit like NobCon where you get to see a few American brands, little boutique modular stuff that doesn't make it over here, and so there's usually a few little interesting bits and pieces to see, potentially at the Bookler and Friends thing. And who knows? I mean, Behringer might be there again with a whole bunch of stuff that we've never seen before and we're unlikely to see in production anyway. But that's always fun, at the very least. Hi, Steve. Good to see you. So best not to buy a synth there yet. Oh, it's always best to buy a synth. I mean, if you're feeling like you need a synth in your life, then it's best to go and get one because there's always another one round the corner, and you can't do that. And the difficulty is that you get fixated on this new thing that then ends up either never coming to pass or being so far off that it wasn't worth all the wait, and you spend the money like on your kids or on a bill or something like that, which is of no use at all. If you have a wad of cash and you have a synthesizer in mind, I would say don't delay, don't hesitate, go for it. Yeah, we like left field. My coffee's going cold already. So, any hot topics then? Anything anybody wants to talk about? This bright new year. Anything that's burning a hole in the back of your head about something new and exciting we need to think about? I've been sort of approached by an AI company recently to try to get me on board with Synth Picnic. We can talk about that in a second. Trying to get me on board with a new bunch of AI creator tools, which is quite exciting. I was really rude to them, which I felt bad about afterwards, because I don't know whether they just caught me at a particular point, but it was just like, no. I just said no, absolutely not. I can't think of anything I don't want to get into. More, less, anything I don't want to get into, less. I don't know, whichever way around that works. Because they were a company who were already doing the Suno kind of thing, as in you put in your prompt and you get music just like that. And their belief was that they are lowering the bar, bringing more people in, allowing people to be musicians. And that really sort of triggered me. And it's like, no, that's not what you're doing at all. No, that's not what you're doing. It's like somebody who wants to learn to cook, right? Learn to bake a cake, for instance. And you go, yeah, come, I've got this brand new course that's going to empower you to make cakes. And they go, oh, great. And you turn up and they go, there's a cake. And you go, oh, great. You've learned nothing. You've achieved nothing, but you have the cake. So it kind of feels a bit like that, where you're not lowering the bar. You're just giving people stuff and charging them for it. So there's no bar involved. There's no empowering involved. It's purely a contract between you're buying yourself a piece of music that's being generated automatically for you. That's kind of it. Let's not try to overflower it or talk it up into some kind of creative fervour. It's not. You're just buying a generated piece of music for yourself, and that's okay. But I don't necessarily mind that. I don't necessarily mind the idea that people can subscribe to Suno or this one. I can't remember the name of it now, and produce music that way. That's fine. It's no skin off my nose, and if that makes you feel good, that's great. However, my point to this company was simply that few of us actually really believe that we're going to make it in music somehow, that people are going to listen to our stuff, other than our mums and a few other close friends, we don't really believe we're going to get famous. And so why do we do music? Do we do music for that outcome? Are we in this game because we want the finished result? Or are we in this because we love all this messing about? And if you take away the messing about, then what's the point of that? I don't know. I can't fathom it. Now, I'm absolutely all for lowering the bar and getting in many people making music as possible. But you do that through education. You do that through affordability. Through lending people stuff, giving people access to stuff, and then showing them how to use it so that they can then start making their own music. It's the give a man a fish, teach a man to fish kind of thing. Surely, isn't it? So if we give away the bit where we actually make the music, then what have we got? What have we got left? That's just nuts. Totally nuts. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, technology fascinates me, and it's technology, and it fascinates me. And I've done a lot of work on AI in other realms and other bits and pieces, and I'm, fascinated by it, same as many people. But in getting on board with a brand, with a company that's trying to sell some idea of musical access and lowering lowering bars and, anti-gatekeeping and all that sort of thing. It's just nonsense. It's just a nonsense, As old Bob Ross used to say, that there's no such thing as talent. All there is practice. It's just practice. And if we take the practice away, then, art vanishes, I think. Anyway, there you go. That's my thoughts on current thoughts on AI. All these things are subject to change. I have no doubt that AI will be infecting all of our doors soon, and then I'll have to talk about it as writing a workshop on how to use the AI mixing tool in Studio One or whatever, and that'll be fun, and I'll talk about it and we'll enjoy it, and I imagine there'll be some helpful stuff in there ultimately, because I don't really know how to mix. I'm just making it up. And so if somebody else is making it up, well, particularly the bits I'm not that interested in doing, But hey, I think probably enough about all that, unless anyone has some fierce ideas. Destroyed your interest in photography? I guess it depends on where you access these things, because what AI has inspired me to do, I think, conversely, is to get to more live gigs, is to see more live music, is to be more present in those sorts of things. And similarly with other forms of art, to go to galleries rather than relying on the internet. I think what the AI is doing ultimately is destroying the internet and making the internet less and less useful, less and less stable and certain, less reliable, because we can no longer believe what we see. So I'm more likely to pivot back towards the news on the television, for instance, or to live music, to gigs, to local groups, things like that. And I think that's could end up being a very positive thing. This is perhaps this is the point at which we all realise that the internet's a load of bollocks, and is it's useful obviously, but in the most part the content that we're being delivered is not of much help, and it's time to move on and do something else. Am I for real? Oh, am I drill? So I thought, are you for real is a better thing than asking if I am real. I mean, honestly, who would make this up? I'm not pretty enough by any stretch. But I am available to be your virtual boyfriend, if that's helpful. No, I don't think I am. I don't have the time. But if you want to send me money, I can pretend to send you photos of my feet, if that's helpful. Anyway, this is about to go weird. So let's not do that. Yeah. Although people keep going on about using dashes, and that's all AI. I'm use dashes all the time when I write stuff. So, I'm not convinced by the AI spotters either. Ultimately, I think everyone is having a bit of a laugh. So I talked a little bit in my Molten Monthly about simplification and going back to the basics to some degree in Eurorack, and how things have got too complicated, too focused on a single module doing absolutely everything. And oh, thanks, mate. Okay, fair enough. Don't blame you. I appreciate it very much. And that's definitely a true thought. And the funny thing is that just after I said that, these two Bassel Instruments super complicated digital modules turned up, which I thought was quite funny. So evidently I'm going to have to be working with stuff that I'm sent. So, my efforts to simplify can only really refer to the things that I'm doing, I think. But one thing I would really like to do. I kind of need to work for 48 hours a day for a couple of weeks just to clear through everything, and then I think I can see some space coming up. And if I do see some space coming up, I would very much like to simplify, to go back to oscillators and filters and envelopes and bits and pieces, just the simple building blocks, and just see how that works. But something else I've been thinking about is, because I still have all this modular, and it's still sitting around, and I still haven't been able to rent any out and lend stuff around, and I would still like to do that. And it still pains me to have these just, modules and modules and modules sitting around. So I was thinking, the 3 cases that I made, the Wendy, Molten and Delia, those are beautiful from Schreiber Maschine. I would like to do more of those. In fact, I think I'm going to change at least one of them into using the Monumatic and the Strymon, the Supercar Plus, things like that. Build another system out of that, because I think that's a very, very workable system that I might use at Synth East coming up soon. But anyway, I want to do more. I want to make a lot more little systems, which then people can borrow. Is the hope, is the idea. I don't want to build big systems because it's just expensive and clunky. You want to build little systems and focus on that sort of thing. I've got so much great stuff that could go into a little system. So my point of raising this, other than to go, is to say that there's any case manufacturers out there, because this will get expensive if I'm not careful. But if you're out there and you build cases, and particularly if it's a little case, and you'd like to send me one, then I'll build a little system with it and make it available for people to rent in order to support Synth Picnic. That's the idea. That's the deal. I mean, I'll make videos on it and show people it and tell everyone about it. So if you're a case manufacturer out there who builds little cases, boutique cases, whatever, I'm only looking for ones that they're all packed up in a box over there. I'm only looking for, 60 HP, something along those lines. Not too big. Maybe a 1U and a 3U ideally, but only one row, hopefully with a lid, so it has a little bit of rigidity or ruggedness to it, perhaps. Something along those sorts of lines. If you make those sorts of cases, then I would love you to send me some for free, of course. And I'll be able to make more little modular systems that people can rent. I think that would be brilliant. I'd like to do that a great deal. I think that would be fun. So just putting that out there. If you know anybody who does that, or if you're a person who creates cases, then give us a shout. I mean, Lavandel, if you're listening as well, Schreiber Maschine, I'd love more of yours, but I don't expect you to keep sending me free stuff. That doesn't seem very fair. So quite happy to take some to diversify into some other things. Right, okay, that was that. What else was there? Synth Picnic, somebody said. Synth Picnic, yes, I've got my Synth Picnic t-shirt on. There you go. Which are available through a link on the website. If that interests you, again, that's all supports what we can do. Can't afford to donate. Just to say that it's awfully cheeky of me to ask for things for free. One has to ask, doesn't one? But if you have something which we can do some kind of deal on, then maybe that's worthwhile as well. We'll have to see. Just get in touch and see, and we'll chew it over. Anything is possible. Anything's possible. Yeah, that is a good name for a synth company. Would I be selling modular beanies? I should. It's not a bad idea. I'm hoping at the moment that there will be a Synth Picnic stall at Synth East, which could be selling stuff. I should give that some thought, and I better do it soon. But I could. Maybe I should get some stuff in. Means I'm going to have to sign up for taking cards, though, doesn't it? La-di-da-di-da. There's always something. That's gone cold. Yeah. So Synth Picnic. So yes, we have a wonderful guy who's, with a bit of luck, lending us the telepathic instruments Orchid, which is very exciting. Is this audio all right? So this hasn't been very close. I'm sorry about that. Let me try to remedy that a little bit. Which is great. So he's going to bring it along on Saturday, and we'll set it up and people can have a bit of a go. And then he's going to leave it with me and for a few weeks so I can make a video on it and have a bit of a play, which is quite exciting. Thanks very much for that. Much appreciated. I mean, all right, so personally, I find it. I'm a control freak. I like to do do my things and get it right as much as possible. So I find collaboration obviously sometimes quite difficult. Not always. I'd love to do it if I can, but I am hampered somewhat by my own desire just to get something done, and finding it difficult when I'm trying to work with someone who's not doing perhaps as much as perhaps they could. Oh, I'm just digging myself a hole here. But what I mean to say is that at the moment I am controlling Synth Picnic very much, but I would very much like it to open up so that other people can contribute and join in and help out and all those sorts of things. And the first one we had a guy. See, the part of the reason why I don't work well with others is because I never remember anybody's name. But it's gone. We had the guy come along and bring a couple of bits, which was brilliant. And I want to pursue that. I want Synth Picnic to be something where people can come and help and then, be rewarded by borrowing a synth or whatever. I want to develop it into that over these next few months, which I haven't done so far because I'm just so flipping particular about things that it takes me a little bit of time to let things go. I mean, it's like with the whole Synth East thing. It's been a wonderful collaboration, and that's been brilliant. But it took me a little while to soak into the idea that I could trust parts of the event, of the festival, to other people, and that's been brilliant. And I should do that more, but I find that hard. That's all I'm saying. But over time, and with like the Orchid and things like that, and with the Novation stuff before, those are great ways to contribute to Synth Picnic and to try to build it out into a more of a community run thing as well as a community serving thing. Does that make sense? So next Saturday in the Odyssey Library up in the Castle Mall, we will have the only thing new, I think, will be the Orchid. I don't think I've got anything else that I'm allowed to show you quite yet, because it won't be NAMM by then, but I will have a bit more modular, and I'm trying to work out exactly how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to hopefully have the Monumatic and the Supercar Plus in a little case that you can try by itself and possibly take away. And I'll have new stuff in my main case here. Some simpler stuff, because one of the questions that I get at Synth Picnic is people asking, well, how do I begin with this? How do I start with modular? Which is a fair question, and it makes me realize that I've never really tackled it. Now, I have done these great videos. When I started off with modular, I documented it all and made videos about it, and that is very, very useful to people who are starting out, because they can see what I did and the successes and failures of my choices. And that's great, but it doesn't really tell you, it doesn't really take you through it. It doesn't really advise you on how best to do your own journey and how best to start, or Eurorack basics or other bits and pieces. Now, I covered a lot of that in my journey because I was learning as I went. But I think there's definitely room for me to come back and go, right, let's do a series of 6 videos on how to get started with Eurorack. Now, I know these things exist from other people, sure, but I haven't done it, and I feel that I could. Particularly as I've got people asking me, I'd love to be able to go, yeah, what you need is to do this. But I mean, the difficulty is, because I saw this recently on Instagram, someone I started following, this young woman who's doing modular, and she started off by sort of doing a couple of little videos on how to get started in modular, and I thought that was really interesting. But the thing that always makes me laugh about those videos is that no one has the same modular. Everyone's modular is vastly, vastly different, and where you get your first modules from, or your first case full of modules, is from completely diverse places. And so she's sort of holding up a basic module, which wasn't basic at all. It was a highly complex envelope generator, and talking about envelopes. And I'm thinking, well, that's interesting, but it doesn't really do a good job of showing people the basics when each of your individual modules are complicated, interwoven, interlaced things that do all sorts of multiple bits and pieces. But it's difficult to do because you buy things for different reasons, and you get taken down different roads by other video people and other bits and pieces, that you end up getting this weird collection of modules that doesn't really make sense by itself. So when you're trying to do something basic, it's immediately complicated by these sorts of things because you just don't have the basics, you know. So I'm going to have to dig out some VCAs from somewhere because I never use VCAs. And yet it's one of those things you're supposed to be using all the time and never have enough of. So it's odd. It's odd. And so then that sort of takes you around to this idea, well, there should be a basic set of modules that I should get. Well, okay, well, maybe that's DOFA. But DOFA are complicated in the way that it works and it names itself, if you know what I mean. They have their own level of complexity to them that other things do not. So then do you go with one brand or do you build your own? You know, is it best that I work out a way of building some Molten modular modules, but then what would I build and where would they come from and how would I manufacture? You know, it just goes round and round. So I can see how it is difficult to start off in Eurorack because it's so bizarre and it's so different to anything else. Excuse me. Yes, there is the Cardinal approach or the VCV rack approach. Yes, but it ain't the same. I don't care who you are. It's not the same. I mean, I think doing like a 6-video course, you would inevitably have to start with something like VCV rack. Yes, totally. Because you could show something exactly the same. Yeah, and people could use something which is exactly the same. But I think you have to move off that really quick because it's not the same. You do not get this experience in VCV rack. You don't get it. So you need to perhaps start with that and then push hard into hardware immediately. I think it's the only way. It's just not the same. Now I'm sure there are plenty of music syllabuses out there that are all in VCV rack, you know, because it makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world except for it doesn't make any sense at all. See what I mean? Where can you hear my best work? You can't really, because my best work is always the next thing that I've conjured up in some video or other. I do chastise myself for not releasing things, for not finishing projects or putting a project together from beginning to end. I just do snippets, I do jams, I do things, and some of them are extraordinary, some of them are not. But that's what I tend to do. But if you want music I've released, then if you look or search on Spotify, for instance, for Molten Meditation, and look at my Without Words album, which is kind of instrumental versions of my first 3 albums from many, many years ago. That's probably my best work. It was all computer based, all done in software, and I was very, very pleased with it. But that's now a decade old, I think. I've got a poster up somewhere from my release. I can't see it from here. Is it 2012 or something? No, much 2006. Surely 20 years ago. Good Lord, 20 years ago. Yeah. But I mean, one of the things I talked about in the Molten Monthly was that that modular system at the end, the open source modular system. Maybe that is a way of doing it. Maybe if I can produce those cheaply enough, you know, maybe I could sell the idea that you buy this modular system and I'd take you through it with a whole bunch of videos. Maybe that's the answer, because they're Eurorack compatible much more than the POM 400, the Teenage Engineering one. Maybe that's it. Or maybe I need to do, you know, the guy who does the one that's in a book. Oh, I just don't have any memory. No, I can't remember. Anyway, you know, there's this book with modules that you can buy. It's got PCBs in it. It's all green and stuff. Maybe I need to get on board with that. You know, we've talked about it and not quite done it. The Music Thing Workshop, I would say yes, absolutely, except it's a bit complicated. I was quite surprised by how complicated it is. I think it's a brilliant idea. I love it very much, but it's more complicated than I expected it to be. But that's definitely one way of doing it, and I think I can't think of anybody's name. Tom, there we go. I think Tom's onto a great thing with that. I think it's totally brilliant. It's just a little bit sideways, I think, to where I would pitch it. if you know what I mean. Gosh, I have a bit of a talk there. Right, let's have some whiskey before I forget, and then I'll be sad. So I don't want to go on till 10 tonight if I can help it. I want to, more like 9:30 would be good. So I'm going to have a splash of this. I went to a whiskey night around a friend's house. My pastor's house, funnily enough. And just got completely sozzled. But I'd had about 12 different whiskies. This is bourbon, of course. I'm not pretending that I know anything about it other than it smells nice and just I like the fact my mouth's on fire. Oh, I'm still on that one, aren't I? Ah, see, that's annoying. I should have been on this one. Think all this talking, I should have been on this one. What's my favourite whiskey? Well, like I say, I'm not really a whiskey person. I'm more of a bourbon person because I'm always seeing myself as a rock and roller, you see. And this Woodford Reserve is really quite good. But I would pretty much drink anything. I mean, I've drunk plenty of Lidl's whiskey, bourbon. Yeah, they're fake Jack Daniels. But if I can afford a few quid more, then that's always good. I quite like Maker's Mark, and I like this Woodford stuff. I have Bullet if necessary. Real man's drink. yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean the Erica Synths ones. Yeah, that's possible. I have a row of those. I could use those, but it does require you to make them, and so you're putting in a whole bunch of DIY elements as well, which is a different aspect, I think. But hey. Angel's Envy. Okay, nice. Yeah, but all good thoughts. Because it's just really, because it's expensive, you want to make the right choices, and you don't want to just buy a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I guess that's why the Music Thing Workshop works so well, is because it is a single device. Which means you can treat it like an instrument by itself rather than giving that versatility of having swap in and swap out stuff, which then makes things more complicated and makes things more expensive. Gosh darn it. See what I mean? It's hard, isn't it? It's difficult. But I mean, another thing I would like to do is to go back into software and hardware for a bit, and to do some basic tutorials on how to get your home studio started, how to use a free DAW with an audio interface, to get recording, to get low latency, to deal with all those little issues that I used to deal with all the time. And in fact, I've written books on a long time ago. I'd like to get back into doing some of that, because I feel that over the last few years, I'm really only doing review videos. And that's okay, because I can build a lot of education into review videos. I like to talk about what's happening and what's going on and how I explored it and what I found, rather than just it being a piece of sort of a fluff piece about a piece of gear. So I tend to use my review videos as a way of talking and explaining concepts and getting those things out there. So, there's an element to it, but it's also, I'm just reviewing products as opposed to taking a concept and showing you what you could do with that concept and use a few products in that. And I would like to get back into doing that. It's simply, I think, because I've just got this backlog that you're tired of me talking about, that's made that difficult, because I feel this obligation to produce videos for people who have been kind enough to send me stuff, and I really want to be true to that and authentic with that. And that just takes time and energy and effort. But I hope to get to a point where I can start to choose projects a little bit more discerningly, I think. Workshop days, yeah, nice. Patch from scratch. What now? Cool. So let's take a break. Right, take a break and we'll have a look at the beat tweak, because this thing has been not driving me nuts, it's been making my brain ache. because it's a strange module, right? Oh, need more patch and scratch. Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, again, talking about simplifying my system down to something a bit more basic, I think I'd be far more up for that. Because one of the difficulties I have with making music on my system at the moment is that because lots of the modules are quite complicated, you know, you're getting out manuals and reading through, how do I do this bit again? How do I do this bit again? I kind of want it to be simpler so I can just dive in and start making some music going around as quickly as possible, you know. That's definitely a thing. Although, I mean, it's been pretty sweet with the Monumatic and the Supercar Plus. They've both been as easy as pie. But, oh, I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, back to this overhead shot. Beat tweak, this fella here. So what is it? So this is a haptic knob, right? And that means it has torque and it has a sense of movement to it. Not in a motorized way, but in the way that it feels. That's not. Well, I'll turn it on, right, and I'll show you where I am at the moment. It has lots and lots of different modes, and the one that's on at the moment I vaguely understand, and so that's helpful. So I turn this up a second. It is better to control your channel, but that's still, I understand what you're saying, but it still doesn't let me off the hook. I mean, I can choose to do that, but that doesn't seem right to me. Can you hear that okay? So this thing here, right? Just watch this. So this is running, it's running the triggers, okay? Triggers. It's just kind of, it's just lovely at the same time as you can't quite work out, so what am I doing with this? I mean, it's speeding up and slowing down a clock or a bunch of triggers going through, which is interesting, and it's a really nice thing to do in that particular mode. But it then has a load of other modes, which I'm now trying to remember how on earth do I use it. So I press on mode. I'm definitely on this side. Am I on this side? Yeah, on this side. Now there's 8 different modes. Which one did I like? Is it that one? Oh, I don't know. Let's see what's happening. Dum 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 dum. Is this? See, I don't know what it means. I need to look it up, which is very sad. What does that one mean? Okay, let's try demo mode and see if I can land myself on something else. Okay, that's what I was using. This has now lost its acceleration. Yeah, I'm using the supercar. Yeah. That was 7, 6. So it's mostly a modulation device, right? And I'm really not showing it right. But it is interesting. Just like, what is going on? Right, let's try another mode. 1, 6, 5. See, I forget. I need to look this up because I'm not helping anybody with this. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm not helping. Really not helping. Oh wow, thanks mate. That's really very, very, very kind. I appreciate that. So yes, the beat tweak is something that I'm reviewing for Sound and Sound at the moment. So I'm going to need to spend, obviously, evidently, a lot more time with it to try to unearth what it's about. But it is strange in that it has this force to it that you push against and then let something come back. Oh, what's that one? Oh yeah. So this knob, it has like this gravity system inside. So you pull it against something and it twangs back, or you push it against something and it twangs back. And you can record automation, and you can do, as I say, these strange timing things with accelerating stuff and slowing stuff down. But all the time it feels like it has this enormous versatility and potential going on, and you're just not sure whether I've fully grasped what that is or what it's doing. And that's difficult at the moment, because it's really difficult to write about if you're not quite comprehending exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Now, it does have one mode which is a loop recorder, which is completely different to any of the modulation modes that it has. And that's interesting in of itself, but a little bit strange. So I'm going to have to take far too long, sadly, to get to grips with it, in order to try to work out what it's about. Because I feel haptic feedback, yes, exactly. I feel that it is, as I say, it has this enormous amount of potential that I don't think that Submatrix are getting across very well at the moment. And I want to help with that. I mean, this is one of the things that I like to be able to do. I like to be able to help people out with their ideas and their modules, in as much as being able to show people what things do, because very often manufacturers of modules are so close to their own modules, and also so clever, that they perhaps don't have the skills to articulate what the thing it is that they have to a wider audience. They can articulate it to themselves and to people who understand what they're talking about, but not necessarily to the general public. And I think that's where I can help. That's what I'm trying to do. But to do that, I need to be able to understand it myself. I mean, flipping Nora, it's an interesting module. Let's have a look at these Bastel ones. Have I ever thought of taking notes? Don't be stupid. No, I do. I mean, I have this, my process for what it's worth when I'm writing, because I've got to write a review, is I play with it to start with. Then I open the manual and I go through a few things, and then I usually distracted by something else, and I come back to it to see whether I can recall any of the stuff that I was looking at. And ultimately I have to sit down with the manual, with the module, with a blank page, and start writing things about it and how these things work and whether I'm getting to the bottom of it or not. So ultimately, yes, I will be taking notes, but I'm still at the tinkering stage at the moment, if you like. So let's choose the Alchemist. I've got no idea what that does, but I've got an output here. Let's see if I can. Oh God, there's an output. Right. Okay. I've got a clock in. Apparently, is that good? Let me take that clock. I'll stick that in there. Let me turn on the overhead, so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, I've warmed up a bit with that, that whiskey. I'm going to be out of it soon. So it's going to need, it's got a MIDI in. That's weird. So I've got a trigger here. Where was I getting my triggers from? I was getting it from the Beat Tweak, but that's not important. I could just take something out of, what's that going to? I'll take that here out of the PAMS trigger. This is number 4. Oh, it's getting a clock. It's getting a trigger. I've got a thing on the front that's flashing. I've got out over there. Just need to turn it up, I imagine. Oh yeah, perfect. I will kill these drums. Doobie-doo. Pattern. CV in. Gate in. Trigger. Play. Turning the effects down a little bit. Oi! Thanks, Johnny Midnight. No, just on keeps going. Yeah, so that's precisely the sort of thing that I'm not into anymore. Which is a module which does a lot. Gosh, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. Now I'm going to wire this through the effects wizard just for heck. Why not? So that's output now. If that's the input, I want... Oh, I've lost my output to me input. La-di-da. So that through there to that through there. Some close fitting cables. That to there to that to there. So I want to take what I think is the effects out by doing something a bit like that. Let's pull that probability down again. My brain trying to remember what was going on in the effects wizard. Well, there you go. I can twiddle these knobs all day, I suspect, but I don't know how entertaining that's going to be. I mean, certainly from the point of view of the Alchemist, it sounds like there's a whole bunch of different synthesizer voices in there, which were pretty fun. The envelope in the middle is very, very easy to control, excuse me, and just gives you that sense of depth and movement to things. How the LFOs all tie in, I don't know. I wasn't really getting much in the way of modulation, I have to say. In this, stumbling into a module for the first time, I haven't looked at any of the documentation or in any videos as to how it works. But that's definitely interesting. The effects wizard, I mean, ultimately it's about finding an effect that you want, and rather than just sort of scanning through them as we were, I don't think that's particularly helpful. I think you're more likely to choose an effect and then work on it, and not having the manual to hand to know what those effects are. That makes that quite difficult. So perhaps less straightforward on that one. But what the Alchemist was offering, I thought was really quite interesting. Quite interesting. Quite like that. I did. Quite like that. Liking this randomness. Yeah. Cheerio, War Radish. Good to see you. Sorry, I've gone already. I've only had the one. Yeah, but that was interesting. I like that. Do I have anything else I can show you or talk about? Or I mean, I could develop a patch into a bit of a something. Could I include the Alchemist? I mean, what is it doing exactly that's of any interest? I need to have another look at the beat tweak, because that's tantalizing me with the potential that it has in there without me fully grasping it at this point. And I did have this idea that perhaps of taking everything apart and then building a more simpler system, but I think that just takes a lot more time than we have here, really. And I don't think that's ultimately very interesting. I do have things that I'd like to show you, but I can't, which is always annoying. So let me think. I don't have room for that just now. He knows secrets. Yes. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. This turned up the other day, which was quite nice. Have your man from Play Fader. Which is a new box, a new bits and pieces for the Play Fader. So you may know it as this very brightly coloured thing, but it also has the option. Let's look at that for a tool. It also has the option of doing it in a more sedate colour. Now I haven't played with that, I confess, for a little while. So this is a good opportunity to have another look at it. Ooh. And what we have here is a whole bunch of very sedate black buttons. How will you know what to do? Is this crazy? And new fader caps. So if they're not color coded, heck. So then you've got a new card with user menus on it. How are you going to know? It's very exciting. I don't think I'm together enough to do that right now, but that's something to come up. But I'll have to have a look at that. In terms of what's coming up next, so my schedule at the moment is I've got some articles to write for Perfect Circuit I have to get done. I've got 2 reviews for Sound and Sound I need to do this week, I think, which is the beat tweak, and also Isu's trifecta here, which is the effects module, which is quite interesting. Need to get into that. I'd very much like to do a video on the Moose from Herbs and Stones, which Signal Sounds have sent me for Synth Picnic. I'd really like to do some videos on the stuff that they've sent me because it's really great, and I want to understand it better so I can show people how it works at the event. That would be good. Yeah, so I've got that to do. I've got a big backlog of stuff that I need to look at that I haven't done. Oh, lots of stuff. Do I leave my analog synths on to keep the chill off in the shed? Not on purpose, no. You got your lava lamp really helps. That's interesting. Any more thoughts on the Keystep Mark II? Not anything more than what I did before. Let me put it to one side before I lose all the bits. I will do that later. I don't put it together enough to do it right now. Is this fella here, right? Yes. It's all right. I mean, the main thing is that it has this ability to craft stuff, craft songs and that, which the first one never had. So from that point of view, it's really good. That is at the expense of some of the more immediacy of the original, where you could just turn on a bunch of notes and an arpeggiator or a sequence very quick, and it was great for that. But you couldn't save anything, you couldn't keep anything, you couldn't build anything with it. Whereas with the new one, you can very much. So that's quite cool. I'm not in love with this knob here particularly. It just seems to stick up by itself, and I fear it's the sort of thing that's going to get pranged at some point. But on the other hand, the little screen does mean that you don't have to plug it into a computer in order to configure it one way or another. It does make it a little bit more standalone, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. It's all right. I mean, one can imagine that there may be some other similar devices that may also get a similar sort of upgrade. Perhaps. Is that too far from the realms of possibility, do you think? And would that be worth waiting for? I don't know. It depends whether you've got room for another key or two, I would say. Aircon. I'm in a bleeding shed, mate. Nice. So yeah, it really does depend on what you need. If you need one, do you need one? I don't know. I mean, what are you using so far? No, Faderpunk didn't turn up, but a bill from the customs people did. So, step in the right direction, perhaps. It's completely random, I find, whether stuff turns up or not, with or without a bill. Sometimes, I mean, some people like FedEx, they seem to send me stuff or allow stuff to get to me, and then they send me a bill like a month later with a massive invoice on it, which is, I'm glad I'm getting the stuff. It's just that there's always a bit of a sting in the tail. Whereas other companies, like UPS, they hang on to it until you've paid for things. But whether you get a bill or not, I don't know. Nobody seems to know. Some stuff just turns up, other stuff certainly does not. It's a mystery to me. Absolute mystery. I mean, I have one thing I could turn on. So I talked about this in the Molten Monthly as well, which was the new version of this thing here, the Matrix Pro. I had a much earlier version, which I couldn't get to do anything. And they've been going at it. And they've got a new one that they've sent me, which is currently going to be a Kickstarter. So let's have a quick look at that. I wonder if there's anything that's immediately built in that will let us play. I have my doubts. Ooh, but who knows? Ooh, it's got some stickers. because the Alchemist does have a MIDI in. I've got MIDI on a few other things here that I could potentially use. Okay. Oh, not a good sign. That's not good. That's in there. Oh no. Hang on, it's not all in one piece. What is going on in here? Seems to have come with a weird sort of rubber mat, right? I think this is the base, because the base seems to have come apart. It's come away and there's a bit missing. I think this goes in there. Yeah, it's glued that's come adrift. Right. Is it magnetic? Could be. Is this magnetic? Does that go on there? Maybe. I don't know. Oh, that goes that way around. Okay, I don't know what the flappy bit is for. It feels like it should be there and sort of stuck on, and it's not. Okay. Oddness. I've got some stickers. I've got some USB and USB-C cables. This is so bizarre. What is going on? I've got a nice pin to put on my leather jacket. I've got I don't know. I've got this crazy little adapter thing, which I think gives me MIDI out, and another one. Maybe there are two different types of MIDI. All right, I have to let the flappy bit go for now. Okay, so I guess I can put this in the end here. Like that. That's quite clever, isn't it? So is that what adds the MIDI to it? Should we say yes? Right, how can I power this without getting myself in a knot? I mean, I'm feeling quite relaxed where I am, you see. What time is it? 9:20. Shall I plug it in and see what happens? Heck, why not? At this point, I've got nothing to lose. Right. Oh, see, this thing falls out the bottom. Damn it, it's not a great out-of-box experience, sadly. Let's pull this out of the way. So that's going to fall out of there, isn't it? Right. Put that back a little bit. Oh, it's not going anywhere. Okay. So that's now not very... Chaos. Oh, that bit's full. Oh, I just have to put that bit to the one side for the minute. I'm going to give this itself a mat, so it doesn't muck about. Right. Come on. Pursue it. That's the wrong one. I need this one. About another bourbon. Yeah. yeah, absolutely. So that goes in there. Plug this in. I've got some MIDI power over here. Right, let's put this over here. Can you see any of that? Not really. So let me think. How can I make that better? If I pull that out perhaps a little bit. There you go. It's making a nice pattern. It's got a button in the middle. Woo! Do you get the feeling that I'm completely clueless? This is always the odd thing about just turning things on and trying them out. Is that you really have no idea what's going to happen next. So it seems to have one mode, which is this pattern thing. Oh. It's got different levels of glare. Ooh. Is anybody else getting that? What was that? Welcome, Wellax. Oh so. Have I got it upside down? I think I've got it upside down. But then, if I've got it upside down, or maybe, I've got another one's fallen out. Oh no. I've got two of these things falling out. There's definitely magnetic. So if I do that here. Matrix. Okay, gotcha. Matrix OS 2.4. Great. Well, no, I broke it. Right, well, I think this is not, that was a bad decision. Right, okay. I'm going to put that back in its box for now. So I'm sure that was fine. I'm sure it's a fabulous device. God damn it. Sometimes doing stuff in live stream is not always what it's cracked up to be, you know. Some things work well, like the Alchemist. Other things are very, very difficult because, I mean, the whole endeavour is unfair because I'm not giving that the time that it deserves. I'm not reading the manual. I'm just trying to turn it on to see if something happens. And sadly, in that case, it just kind of fell apart and then didn't do anything. Which is frustrating. It's kind of the experience I had with the one they sent me 4 years ago, in that it didn't do anything. So this one apparently has 10 different apps in it. So, you know, it's more like, should be more like the Fader Punk. But so evidently I'm going to need to spend a little bit of time trying to work that out. I kind of hoped that it would just start up and it would be like a, you know, like a matrix sequencer at the very least, that I could go bing bong bing and it would play some notes and I could patch that into something. But it wasn't giving me any of those sorts of vibes at all, which is a shame. But hey, I will look into it some more and see if I can tease something out of it. So, but that's the danger of sending me things, is that you know, your products will be under scrutiny, and sometimes it's scrutiny that's been laced with bourbon, which is not helpful. It was exciting, thank you. Okay, well, I don't think I'm getting very far tonight, but this was not an auspicious start to the year particularly, but I was able to get a few things off my chest and to talk about things, and hopefully to look into the future as to what we can do, and also to remind myself to never drink bourbon during a live stream ever again. I think that's probably quite clear. So I think I'll toddle off and let you go and get yourself a coffee before Jason Jervis gives you his pajamas. Do I have the ability to play you out at this moment? Why don't I try that? Why don't I pour another one, see if I can do a tune, just a small one, and kind of go from there. You know, possibly. At least I can press play. So I got that going. Not convinced by the effects wizard. I quite like the effects that are in it by itself. A bit like that. So let me see see if I can bring the supercar in. Was it? Wasn't that? That wasn't it. Notes from something. Some notes from there, shall we? Oh yeah. there you go. That was the thing. Thanks very much for spending time with me this evening. That's been great. I've enjoyed your company. Thank you very much. Just been having a bit of a fiddle, and yeah, quite enjoying that. So there's a lot to be found, I think, in the Alchemist and the Effects Wizard. I'll be having a look at those, in no doubt, at some point very soon. And as much as it pains me to say, I'm going to be retiring the Monumatic and the Supercar Plus into a little case, into a little performance case, I think, which they just work brilliantly together, very simply, very easily. But I want to push myself into using more basic, into using more basic modules. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to put those into a little case to let people play with those and stuff. Oh, there's an EMOM this Thursday, the first one of the year in Norwich, in the Rumsey Wells. I'm hoping to get to that. I think, in order to chin up a bit of a interest in the Synth Picnic, which is happening on the Saturday. So Synth Picnic next Saturday. Before that, Thursday, EMOM in the Rumsey Wells. I'm going to try to make it to that and have a bit of a play. And then we'll go from there. Lots of stuff to come. As I say, a few NAMM releases I should have videos on with a bit of luck. And more stuff besides. So there'll be no end of me on the tubes, I imagine, this year. Hoping to do more, be more, gotta get more, and those sorts of things. I did use the beat tweak for a bit, but it's a bit boggling. I will get to it. I did use it earlier on at the beginning. It is a weird fish, that's for sure. Right, I will leave you to it. I'll let you get on as I need to get on, and I will see you anon. Thanks very much. Go and make some tunes. I'm going to have to find a thing to press. Probably this one. Let's try this one. Yeah, that'll do it. Cheers, everyone.